Out here on the open sea, the line between survival and danger is thin. These children as young as 10 are exposed to the harsh realities of deep sea fishing. Every day, they work alongside their parents, battling strong currents and unpredictable weather. But what's most striking is the risk they face. No life jackets, no safety equipment, just their bare hands gripping the nets and ropes as they try to learn a trade that has been passed down through generations. Dawn breaks over the waters of Elmina in Ghana's central region as the gentle sea breeze sweeps across the coastline. The sun blazes overhead as 35-year-old Isaac Kwesi and his 9-year-old son Emmanuel Kwesi prepare for their usual fishing trip out at sea. This tradition was passed down to Isaac by his father when he was as young as Emmanuel. Now, Isaac believes it helped shape him into a better person, and he is determined to pass on the same kind gesture to his son. Isaac carefully teaches Emmanuel everything he needs to know about the work, ensuring he won't struggle when they head out to sea.
You were in good in the one school about home. Mbana and Brahma is our cabin two, about two, when our co school. And to me, fool away by Marsham. I wash one of school now, Chinebi, while for some years now. A could you bear 100 miles, 80 miles, 90, 120, but 150 monk could be there. Your could you bear 130. For dinner, no colonel, you do 5 days. I know you pure and me. And I bear Tama. Until near Namaposo, he did 5 days in Sunday with you Tama.
In just 9 years, Emmanuel has already been to sea countless times, always helping to scoop water from the boat.
Me papa me chobwa. Is also me tina machine. Is also me di jumper. Na is also me didi. Me shoes. Me shoes na.
As the third out of 5 children, Emmanuel has lost interest in school, vowing never to return after dropping out in class 2.
Me papa school.
His father is at ease with his son's decision as it fits perfectly with his own plan for Emmanuel's future. Across the shores of Elmina, the cycle repeats itself. Child after child, like Emmanuel, walks away from their education to join the ranks of fishermen. It's a common practice, a tradition deeply embedded in the community's identity. Francis Yameche, a fellow fisherman who works alongside Isaac Kwesi, has also allowed his son to quit school due to poor performance, bringing him here to fish. Francis began his fishing career in 1983 at the age of 11 and has gained a wealth of experience over the years. The greatest joy for him would be to see his son follow his footsteps.
The school man could be. This is a check.
we me go school no ko hade ma ya hu hwe no mo hwe sa adwuma de ale ya ne se wo so ba wo a awoda no ba na ne ye de ne ni nsa chine ni wa otum ahwe japan do aja amoda a chan kwa ma nu nya no ma wo ba fi che ba ne so otum wa collect one na eje adwuma no wa no ko kwesu e kan ya adwuma ba ti anapa 6 o'clock and it was 7 o'clock and we sala I think a car called there no Nina Jima Sibia if you bet a corner and why rest a crack say sometime also it's man I did tomorrow.
His 15-year-old son, Isaac Busumefi, has begun earning his own money. He feels he wasted his time in school because he struggled with reading and writing.
Yakob Suyaba, Yeska. Yes, because I'm the mammy, Munyano. Never knew some papa. Me about 3 million, and I 5 million, 2 million. Watch your madam. What can I miss spelling? Fisher, miss spell there. Now I made me school. Go do cast too. That's for that. Me a poet man. One and now for first. I walk up to say, Mala.
It's lunchtime and the food is ready and served. The senior colleagues gather to eat together first. What remains is then handed over to the children who relish every bit of the meal. At night, as the water levels rise, most children in Elmina prepare for work. In the evening, the children gather at a designated spot to weave the nets they will use for fishing the next morning. At this hour, these children are often shirtless, walking barefoot with no supervision. Nana George recalls a time when he felt so sick that he could not eat while at sea for 2 days.
Ibo award them. We go 2 days. Nay, me fee. But woman made the banner me fee. Me fee na. I did china musan smoke crap. Mo konku 7 days.
He wants to return to school, but without anyone to care for him, he feels trapped. He works to earn money for his grandmother, with whom he lives.
Mushuzu. Musan smoke trouble for. Me go school. Class 4. Minyeska. 4 million, 3 million, 5 million.
These children are gradually becoming sick. Echo Agent is slowly losing his eyesight. He tells me that fishing under the scorching afternoon sun is incredibly difficult as his eyes constantly tear up from the harsh rays. But he has no other choice. When night falls, his vision becomes blurry. He has not been to the hospital because he cannot afford medical care. With both parents having left Elmina, he's now in the care of his grandmother.
And then they are going to be able to do. Yanko Posa, you have been all the money. See, I'm not doing this. I may. It's all a move. Not when Opuzu. Nana, sir, and your Sukumon, sir. No, so, Muntum, Mufon, baby. I'm pursuing this car. Tell you call this person. And Sana, when you're not here.
This 10-year-old dropped out of school in class 2. He tells me that whenever he sees his classmates heading to school, he feels a strong desire to join them. However, he feels trapped by the shores of these troubled waters, left with no choice but to accept his work in fishing.
No, but couldn't mean no look up more animal cry. Yes, camera blend, not a cool. I'll call you more school. No, Miss Nami. I'm cutting from Munko school, no, there. A young Munko school now, from Munko school out to see Seattle.
These children have the right to be protected from economic exploitation and from performing any work that is hazardous, interferes with their education, or is harmful to their health and social development. Yet, many of them find themselves working in the precarious occupation of marine fishing in Ghana. Here in Elmina, as night falls, these children are preparing to head to sea early tomorrow morning. Child labor in fishing remains widespread in some communities, robbing these children of their childhood and education. This practice not only violates their fundamental rights, but also undermines efforts towards sustainable fishing, perpetuating a cycle of exploitation and hardship. Tonight, they will work until it's nearly dawn before they can leave for the sea.
Screen major. Ovina said, Mapolcopina, no watching now. Nam, Minoko. Mukosa, Gakan can add and yache. Nay, it did. Nam made 10 years. Nam crew. Munko Skida. Oh, when Mukos can come Munko.
I'm back here again to see a family that I spoke to earlier, and right, that is Isaac there and his son Emmanuel. They are fast gone, asleep, and I wouldn't want to wake them up to disturb their sleep. They've had quite a busy day putting things together towards their preparation and going to the sea. And anytime the clouds go darker, this is how they sleep. And they will be battling mosquito bites. You know, it's actually not really healthy, especially for the young boy. But that's how they go about with their things here in Elmina. I returned the next day, and it was finally time for them to go fishing, 100 miles out in the middle of the sea. The children prepared as their parents took charge. With their bare feet firmly planted on the canoe, they stood steady against the bumpy waves that could easily intimidate anyone. Yet, these children have already mastered the skills of the job. Today, they seem excited, hoping to catch a plentiful haul of fish. Finally, they arrived at their spot, and it's time to cast the net. Once it becomes entangled in the deep waters, the children jump in to fix it. At that moment, my heart raced as I could not help but think about the what-ifs. Here, there are no life jackets for anyone, and the risks are real, especially for the younger ones. For these children, this is their classroom. The boat, the nets, the sea But out here, one wrong move can mean the difference between life and death. This is the harsh reality they live in, far from the safety of the schoolroom, where the sea becomes both a teacher and a threat. At this point, I was starting to lose it, feeling swarmed by dizziness, my vision blurring. It was mind-boggling to see these children so happily enthusiastic in such a perilous situation. The Municipal Fisheries Director for Commander Edina Eguafo Ebrim describes the situation involving children as alarming.
We've come to engage the chief fishermen to see to it that children are not seen at the landing beaches because they are supposed to be in school. So now we have educated both parents and then the chief fishermen. We have done a lot of education on that. We normally go on radio to educate the fisher folks and even the parents that that is not encouraged anymore. So if you take the fishing harbor, for instance, during school hours, if you are a kid and you try to enter, they do not allow you to enter. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we are putting in place to curb the situation. So even though there will be some few challenges, that is like you've spoken to some few kids and then they do that, does not necessarily mean that we are encouraging that here. No. You see, once a while you see some of the stubborn ones in. But as I said earlier on, we are putting things in place and then we are working towards that.
Child labor and trafficking, CLAT, is a major global issue that has garnered serious concern from governments, civil society and development partners due to its devastating impact on society. The ILO's 2008 estimates asset that approximately 60% of the 215 million boys and girls engaged in child labor work in agricultural sector, which includes fishing, aquaculture, livestock and forestry. It's devastating to think that these innocent children contribute to the already alarming statistics. The CLAT situation is particularly worrying for Ghana. The Ghana Statistical Services GLS Round 6 estimated that 2.7 million children are engaged in child labor, with 1.9 million involved in child labor and 1.2 million in hazardous forms of child labor. Another day, and these children arrive at the fish market hyper and happy. It's around 9:45 on a Monday morning, and I'm sure you can clearly see some kids over there, some who have just come from the sea, and others also trying to beg for some fish so they can sell it to the fishmongers here. Ideally, at this hour, these children should have been in the classroom trying to absorb some knowledge through formal education, but that's the rather unfortunate situation that they found themselves in here in Elmina. Children as young as 5 years old are seen here practicing fishing. The sun blisters down unforgivingly on these young men, but they remain undeterred. Agnes Dazi, a fishmonger who has been at the market for 40 years, says the situation is worrying and has remained the same since she started selling fish.
Papa phone why wa asade one show my framan until be ma me do kitamba by 6 until now humuntum when you na wodo ti bo na my farm wa wa for wuti asua oh yeah.
Most of the children, she says, have grown up to be chief fishermen. A chief fisherman in Elmina, Nana Kwame Edu, is aware of the child labor practices. He mentions that there are reported cases of canoes capsizing at sea due to unexpected events like strong winds and heavy rains, which pose significant dangers to the children.
But you come say I'm for about 10 years, 9 years, 14 years, 15. Minimum pay you for the intel and for canoe couple. So baby no wire I handy at Nahadi afa kakra bi amfo yama oda ojibo kopum tira da ye hu da eyan fi do so da otwe onu da onu efi afrobam kanu no tum butu no obi a when you fi do bien do 10 years 11 years 12 years that's a amane kanu na butu a ami me pele mo na abafa no so wa na obapele no what ma say until no ma akrom ha no yintie ma afrobo when 11 years 12 years 30 years yama no kwama onkopo no and sa ho so aba ha na yihu da nkwada no wo ko yama so ya chew yitumi chew no ya jo ma fishes na fishes will report to a police.
They have tried to end the practice, but the interest in child labor extends far beyond their control. The situation is particularly concerning in Mumford, also in the central region of Ghana. Children here are often seen assisting their parents or masters in pulling boats or canoes ashore or scooping water from them. A retired chief fisherman in Mumford, Kwabna Katamesi, along with his elders, are working to curtail the practice.
You can't have some time be there. Get to one when you often yako. Yes, our okay. Osanda, Sawamba is Yakra, when I do Yoko school. The crow, sir, Obaha, and a papa, and a papa, but to school for all corner. Wabon the crew, the impediment was no be a look up be Alan. No, when you wait. Wangasa, so cross school, navy. Na walaji school klata na wena nyejman ya na sabakwa na itumoko.
According to the Ghana Education Service in the Commander Edina Guafu Ebrem district, they have initiated an enrollment drive to encourage parents to send their children to school. However, the statistics on children leaving school continue to rise. On March 20, 2024, the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, along with partners like the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, and the International Labour Organization ILO, launched a policy called Accelerating Together Action Against Child Labour in Ghana. This policy is a multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral initiative aimed at ending child labour in Ghana. The latest global estimates reveal that 152 million children, 64 million girls, and 88 million boys are engaged in child labor worldwide, representing nearly 1 in 10 children globally. Almost half of these children, 73 million, are involved in hazardous work that poses serious risk to their health, safety, and development. Additionally, 4.3 million children are trapped in forced labor, considered one of the worst forms of child labor and estimated using a separate methodology. If this exploitative practice is not addressed and eradicated, achieving Sustainable Development Goals 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8, which aims to eliminate poverty and hunger, ensure good health, provide quality education, and promote decent jobs and economic growth, will remain out of reach for the country. Target 8.7 of the Sustainable Development Goals seeks to eliminate the worst forms of child labor, including the recruitment of child soldiers, and to end all forms of child labor by 2025. Yet, these fishing communities remain trapped in a cycle where child labor continues, casting doubt on the likelihood of achieving this goal by the 2025 deadline. The government of Ghana must demonstrate the political will to fulfill its international obligations by providing adequate educational facilities in fishing communities to combat child illiteracy. Additionally, it should collaborate with local leaders, particularly traditional chiefs, to ensure children's access to education and to promptly report crimes against children for swift justice. The government can also invest in early childhood development, care and pre-primary education programs, Providing children with a strong start is one of the most effective strategies to ensure the transition from early childhood to school rather than being pushed into the workforce. Until these measures are implemented, many children will continue to wash away their dreams in the waters, risking their lives all in the name of survival. Godwin Asidiba, TV3.